Hey friends, my name is Cynthia Sierra and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about imperfect parenting. You don't want to miss this. So some people have a perfect idea of what parenting is. And everyone has an experience with this because we have all been a child and had parents at one point or another. Some may be really excited to be parents, like my sister who's going to have a baby girl now in February 2022. And then there are others that are a little bit scared, kind of freaked out about the idea of having kids and having no idea what to do. Let me tell you, it doesn't get any easier. But I have great news for you guys that parenting and perfection do not go together in any way, shape, or form. There's only one person that is perfect, the Bible tells us, and that's God. So usually right when you have your baby fresh out of the oven, right, you're holding him, you think he's so perfect, they're lovely, they're so caring. You even love their cry, their smelly little feet, everything about babies. I know my husband loves a fresh new baby smell. And there really is nothing negative about that baby at that time, right? But as they get older and older and older, right? The terrible twos, terrible threes, for me, I think it lasted until terrible fours and then become preteens and then the teenagers, the attitude, we start becoming more aware that they are just like us and they may have a sinful nature. And this is where the idea of perfect parenting kind of goes out the window. Sometimes we're worried, we don't know how to handle it. We feel like it's our fault when our kids make mistakes. But we have to remember that just like them, we were also children. And we made mistakes ourselves, but we still need to love them even through their mistakes because the Heavenly Father loves us when we make mistakes. The first thing that we need to do is make sure that we give them the gift of consequence. Now, I know you're probably thinking that that's totally opposite. That's an oxymoron. But the reality is that there are some parents that are scared to give their kids consequences, whether they have ADHD or maybe they have autism. The point is we need to have boundaries for our kids. It's proven that kids actually work better when they have boundaries, when they know what is expected of them and what it's not, what is right and what is wrong. And so thinking of consequences as a negative thing will definitely steer you towards the wrong way. But if we think of consequences as a positive, as something that a child needs in order for them to figure out whether something is good or something is wrong, is the right way to go towards parenting. Consider the need of consequences. They help a child grow and they also let them know that there is a consequence or there is a price to pay for something. And a verse that we can go to is found in Galatians chapter 6, verse 8. Now I know you're probably going to think this is a little bit towards the left, but we really got to figure out the context and the purpose of this text. And it says, "The one who sows to please his sinful nature, from that nature will reap destruction. The one who sows to please the Spirit, from the Spirit will reap eternal life." And so we need to figure out, we have a teenager now, we have a child, whatever age they may be. We're starting to see that sinful nature. And I know it sounds really harsh, but in reality, we're all sinful. We're sinful, our children are sinful, etc. We need to figure out, we need to show them that they need to live through the Spirit instead of through the flesh. So consequences are not necessarily bad. They kind of align us with what the will of God is for our lives. Now, with consequences, we definitely need to make sure that the consequence, the punishment, the reward fits the action, okay? You're not going to be taking away their phone, taking away their video games, taking away TV time, making sure that they go to sleep early when they got a C or a D in their test, okay? Just like if they went ahead and they stole something from a store or they cursed at a teacher, you wouldn't just go ahead and give them a 20-minute timeout, okay? We need to make sure that the consequence is appropriate for the action that they committed. And the best thing that I like to do with my child is ask them for their opinion on consequences. What is it that you think you deserve? What consequence do you think would be appropriate for the action that you just committed? And many times I've seen in my situation that their idea of a consequence is worse than what I thought would be appropriate. So that way they know that they're responsible for their consequence and they feel like they have a part in it. And that kind of lets you gauge more or less what level mentally your child is in, whether they know the severity of the situation or whether they just are very lax and they don't think there's anything wrong with it. And this is definitely a time for you to open up a discussion. Another very good parenting tip is that we need to realize that we were children at one point. We made mistakes. We also did our little naughty things that our parents didn't know about. We probably stole, some of us probably lied. We need to realize that we were there at one point. When you show your kid that you're being honest and that you were there and you get it and you're not condoning the behavior, but you're kind of trying to relate to them on a different level. They see you as a human being. They see you as an imperfect being just like them. When you try to place yourselves above them in a way that you think you're better, that you are perfect, that you never did anything wrong, your child is probably never going to talk to you. They're never going to relate to you, and you're never going to be able to have that open dialogue. And we need to remember the verse in Romans chapter 3, verse 23, where it says that we all have sinned and fallen short of the grace of God. And so we are all imperfect, including our children. And when we start having that relationship with our children and letting them know that we're human also, it becomes so much easier for us to go ahead and dish out those consequences, because we're not just giving them consequences just because they think that we want to hurt them, but they know that we love them. And because we love them, we are steering them towards the right way, thus giving them those consequences. And just a side note that I'm sure you guys already know, but I'm just throwing it out there, that we need to show them grace and mercy just like God gives us when we're dishing out the consequences. And we find this in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 32. Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other, just as Christ, God, has forgiven you. Another really important thing is that we as parents need to study our children. And you're like, Cynthia, what are you talking about? We need to actually spend time with them. We need to bond with them, not just talk at them, but talk with them. Hey, how was your day? How are you doing? Do you know your child's favorite color? Do you know what issues they're having at school? Do you know if they have a boyfriend or girlfriend? Do you know if they have issues with reading? Do you know how much they know about the Bible? What is their perception on God? Do they know who God is? Do they have a relationship with Jesus Christ? All these and so many other things that sometimes we take for granted, and we think we know our children, but when we actually start thinking about it, there are way more things that we can definitely get to know our child. And this is how we start building that relationship and encouraging them to talk to us as if we were their friend. Now, I do want to note that there's a very fine balance between being a parent and being a friend, but it doesn't mean that you can't be both together. I know that this is something that my mom definitely strived to do with me. And even until today, my mom is one of my bestest friends, but I also have that respect for her as a parent. And why? Because my mom also told me some of the things that she failed at, some of her weaknesses, some of her mistakes when she was a child, when she was a young adult too. And so that made me kind of want to relate with my mom, because my mom knew what I was going through. She had been there. She had done some of the things that I had done, and she knew what I had done and how it felt like at that point. There were plenty of times where, because we were building this trust, my mom was very honest with me. And I'm going to say this, and some people may not like it, but she also apologized to me. When she said things, or when she did things, or when there were just things that she didn't know, she would apologize to me. And that to me made me feel, not that I was better than my mom, but again, that my mom was a real person. And I do that with my child too. If I have done something wrong, or maybe I lost my temper and I said something, or I hit him when I wasn't supposed to, I go back and I apologize to him. And that is totally fine. A humble heart is a heart that shows Jesus Christ. And the ultimate goal is for us to share Jesus Christ, to show Jesus Christ through our lives to our children. See, when we realize that we are dealing with humanity and humanity is sinful, we become more empathetic towards our kids. It's not just about dishing consequences. It's not just about pointing out the negatives, but it's also pointing out the positive that they have done. When we as parents always focus on the negatives and what they're doing and pointing fingers and you're in timeout and you're doing this wrong and this is what you need to do, they're not going to pay attention to us, because they're like, mom always focuses on the negatives. So what's the point of me trying to do something positive when she never even looks at it? They clean their room. Now, it's not up to your expectations, right? But at least they cleaned the room, or they were able to clean the bathroom, or they got a B or a C instead of a D or an F on their test, or they washed the dishes or took out the trash before you even told them. Now, I have a 10-year-old who is a lot easier to manage, and I also have a 20-year-old stepson. And for him, the goals are a little bit different. Did you find information on your career? Did you go to school and make up that test that you needed to make up? Did you put gas in your car? Did you clean your car before I asked you to? Did you take care of the responsibilities in the house before I had to remind you? You need to make it age appropriate and really focus on those little gifts, those little nuggets, those positive things that really make it so much more special, instead of trying to focus all on the negative. Because whether they're 2 or 5 or 10 or even 20, everybody loves positive reinforcement, positive criticism, and when somebody validates that their efforts are being known. The point is that if you're not perfect, that is okay. Nobody is a perfect parent. If they tell you they are definitely lying. But this is a growing experience, just our Christianity. The most important thing is that we need to note that our children are a gift from God. And once we realize that, it is so much easier for us to give them consequences, to love on them, to be honest with them, and most of all, to be humble. So remember, there is no perfect parent out there. The only parent that your child needs is you. I hope that you guys are blessed. You guys definitely enjoyed this. This motivated you. This encouraged you to let you know that if you're doing everything wrong, you're going the right way. I will talk to you guys later, and till the next time.